All right. How we doing, Andy? How are you today?
I'm okay. We got
Really good episode here today.
oh
Yep.
gosh,
Sorry. Go ahead. I'll shut up.
we've got Patrick Ryan on the podcast today. Journalist, news producer extraordinaire. Obviously worked for probably the greatest public access station of all time, WNYF, along with me for a while. And I think
That's a hot take.
one of Patrick's key attributes is patience, and he was so patient with us today and me today because we had a lot of technical difficulties.
Watch the us. Watch the us. Watch the us.
Yeah.
The word was me, as in you.
Yeah. We had some technical issues before we could get
Watch the
started
we.
today.
Watch the we.
I
Watch
had
the
some
we.
technical issues.
It's all right. Working in public access,
Yeah,
there's gotta be some
exactly.
patience.
So, but we're here and we're ready to go now. Everything's happening, and Pat, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I've been listening to all the
Oh,
episodes
all
in
right.
preparation, so we're good to go. And I have to tell you, I was looking on my TV before I got on here, and there was an ad for Scoob. So the targeted advertising, I think, is working.
We have to get more eyes on the project. I think is the
Have to get more eyes on the project.
More eyes on the
that's
project,
the
baby.
takeaway
That's
from,
how we're doing
from
it.
all of this. Pat, we wanted to have you on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We wanted to have you on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, first of all, what's been going on? How have you been surviving quarantine? Especially because you, much like Matthew here, graduated college while all this is going on. I mean, what's that like?
It was definitely wild. Like the first, when they announced that everyone had to go home, it was like so sudden. Like we were at the TV station, and then they were like, "Okay, everyone has to move out." So it was like very sudden. But I don't know. It's been all right. I mean, moving back home, like it's whatever. Like not ideal, but I don't know. I think the biggest issue was just like finding like motivation to actually do your work and like get it finished without like being in the setting of school. So
Yes. Well, I have a few things to say on this because we've actually never really talked about this, and now that Patrick's here, it kind of gives, No, I didn't really have to do any work. I'm a sports management major, so there was no. Yeah, so
love to see it.
I had to write a few papers, a little bit of accounting homework, but nothing. It wasn't really too crazy on my end. I was able to, and I didn't go back to work until I was done with online school or whatever. So that didn't really. I really had nothing going on most days anyway. It was kind of made me feel productive when I had the opportunity to do some work. But what I was gonna say, and I don't know if this is how you felt, but back to the whole like how sudden it was. When we first found out, my initial reaction was like, this is awesome. I don't have to go to class because I hate class. But then it takes a little bit of time, and then you realize, well, now I don't get to do any of the cool things that would have happened as a senior. Like, we had senior week. We have stuff like that where, and Griff Fest, your Fred Fest, you didn't get to participate in your last Fred Fest.
I know. I was devastated.
Yeah, so that's all stuff that you kind of realize after. But all in all, we got our degrees, so
100%.
I guess there's not much.
And I have to tell you, I was in SUNY's for the last time, bar in Fredonia,
I know
and
Sonny's.
it was like a funeral. It was horrible. Oh my god. And it was like 80s night was the theme, and like nobody really knew. That was like it was just like, it was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Sonny's. I have seen several tweets say that if you've ever been to Sonny's, you were already immune to the coronavirus. And I could believe that.
I follow
yeah,
people
so you
there,
definitely.
Yeah,
I'm
so
still
Patrick's
using
immune
everything.
from all diseases.
Yeah.
We need your antibodies, Pat. We need those Sonny's antibodies.
Modern medical miracle.
There's a lot of things in.
I wonder if they test
There's
that
a lot
now.
of things in Fredonia that I, as somebody who's visited there, would classify as gross, and that's coming from me. And I've put myself in some pretty gross situations, but I always said to myself that if I went to Fredonia, I would never have graduated. I wouldn't have been able to make it through. I would go there when I had days off school, random days, or I didn't have stuff to do, no hockey, stuff like that, to visit people. And it didn't matter if it was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It didn't matter what day of the week it was. People were just absolutely going crazy all the time at that school, I felt like.
Well,
yeah. I had the option the one day I was writing a paper that was due at like midnight, and I was like, oh, I really want to go out, and it was a gen ed, and I was like, maybe I'll just drop the class. So I just dropped
That's
the class.
exactly how I will forever imagine Fredonia, right there. That's how it's done.
oh my God.
I was talking to people on the phone, like fishing for the right answer. I was like, "What do you think I should do? Like, should I write the paper?" I already made up my mind. I was.
You
like,
just wanted somebody else to tell you it was okay
Right.
to not have to write the paper. Oh, I've been in that situation before. See, Andrew, on the other hand, was the opposite.
What do you mean?
I showed up to Fredonia for his 21st birthday, and he didn't go out.
Okay, that was a complicated situation.
No, I'm not done. Hey.
Christ.
And then there was another time I went to Fredonia, and I was like, Andrew, please come out with us. And he's like, oh, I'll come by for one beer. So he comes by. We were at, I don't even know what bar. Everybody's, having a time.
Tully's
and I'm like,
or Muldoon's. I don't remember which one.
Muldoon's. I think it was Muldoon's. And we're like, Andrew's like, all right, fine. I'll have one beer. And I'm like, all right, what do you want? I'll get you a beer. And he's like, I'll do a Founders IPA, and he only person in this bar drinking an IPA. He has one of them, slings it down, and then he's like, all right, I gotta go, and then just leaves.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, no problem.
Well, I had to go.
Fine.
Then that was semester. I was producing 3 television shows. I was developing another one. I was very busy, and I was also insanely
busy
high
guy
for that entire semester. I don't know what to tell you. I regret it. I made the wrong choice at that point. Okay, I wish I had stuck around, but I was just so goddamn tired. I didn't know what else to do. And the 21st birthday, that's a long story. That's a whole.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. And I don't want to go into. I don't know if we need to go into that right now.
There's never a time in my life. In my entire life, this brings up a good point. This was pre-2 in the cooler, but this was the exact opposite of a 2 in the cooler mentality. It was your 21st birthday, and you were too hungover from the night before to even get up and go out on your 21st birthday.
Yes.
You had a full day. You don't even have to go out. I mean, I guess there you have to go out a little earlier because the bars close at 2. But you don't even have to go out till 12. You're telling me from the time you went to bed at the night before, even if it was 7 in the morning till 12 at night, you couldn't somehow just suck down a few waters and get to the bar?
Well, boy. I guess I don't know how to defend myself. It was what my body experienced that night is biblical. It was really, really, it was bad. I'm telling you, man. We went to the night that you were coming up. What's the name? The hibachi place in Fredonia. Yes.
Oh,
Yokoso. I wanted to go there. We planned it out. We were going to go out this night with my buddies and I who were already there. Then Matthew was going to come. We were going to have dinner
with my friends.
Yes, we were going to have dinner at this hibachi place, and Matthew was going to come. Because who doesn't love the hibachi? That place is a pretty good spot. I already forgot the name, even though Patrick said it just a couple seconds ago. And so, I'm there, and I'm super sick, and I'm eating the miso soup. I haven't eaten anything all day because I can't keep it down. So I'm just trying to eat the miso soup. I ended up throwing up 4 times in their bathroom. Yeah, it was bad. And I almost threw up all over the hibachi table. I couldn't...
Hair of the dog.
Oh.
Imagine... Okay, this is gross.
Honestly,
but imagine throwing up on the grill and they're cooking.
What a sizzle.
Oh,
That's disgusting.
They'd have to scrape it
Oh
off.
no, because it was all liquid. There was nothing solid. There was nothing solid in it.
It would have gone up in steam.
Yeah, it would. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, there's
Oh God, it was.
All right, to get away from the throw up talk.
Yeah, please.
I have a couple, Patrick, just a few questions about your whole time in Fredonia and the whole, film thing. So I had talked to Andrew earlier before we hopped on because I was curious to how you guys, cross paths and whatnot in both your time at Fredonia working for the TV stations. And we didn't get too much into it. I wanted to know if you were Andrew's boss was really what I wanted to know. But he claims that you were promoted when he claims that you were promoted when he left.
Yeah, I was promoted the year after he left, so.
Okay. So you would have been his boss.
I guess, if he would have been there. But I did have a cubicle, so.
There you go. Andrew,
I had an
cubicle.
office. I had an office.
Andrew had a whole
It was
office
a closet, but
Oh.
it had a desk in it, and that's what they called my office. That's the way it is.
So, yeah, talk to us a little bit about, because I've heard Andrew's perspective of how the whole, what it's like kind of being in
I hope I didn't say
that
anything bad
aspect
that I don't
of
want you to repeat.
public access television.
I love public
I don't
access.
know.
I miss it.
But, I want to hear a little bit about kind of what you've learned and what you've done and how, your day-to-day kind of before you've been forced out of State University due to the coronavirus.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a learning experience. I will say, you learn how to do everything when you're doing campus TV. So, you're not just, tweeting or doing PR. You're running audio. You're, troubleshooting. Everything's usually broken. You're usually calling Canada to, figure out how to fix things and along those lines. But it definitely, flew by for me. I joined my freshman year and joined one show and just our late night show that got canceled.
R.I.P.
I tweeted for them, R.I.P. But and then I just became an assistant and kind of worked my way up, and I don't know, it was great. I met a lot of great people there. We had a little rough patch for a while there, but everything is kind of straightened out, and there's just you meet a lot of people and there's a lot of personalities at play.
I do believe it.
But,
for better or worse, I feel like there's a little subtext under that. I recall. Good times. Good times. That's all I'm saying.
I don't have to not to put you on the spot here, but do you have any Andy stories from back in the day, or do you guys ever have any run-ins, or was it kind of?
Oh, actually, I do.
Here we go.
No,
I have one. We were doing our matchmakers special for the TV station, and I was running social media for it, and I was like, oh, it would be so funny, if this tweet. I tweeted and I said, if this tweet gets 40 retweets, we'll shave Canada's head live on air at the end of the show. And I didn't think anyone would actually retweet it, and it got way past 40 tweets, and he actually got his head. I think Joe shaved your head, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad you brought this up. I don't know if this is the right way to put this, but I got in a lot of trouble with my girlfriend for doing that.
Oh no! Yeah. It's not my fault.
That's what I told her, but she didn't believe me. I threw you under the bus immediately, Patrick. But no,
I appreciate that.
God, what the hell happened? I don't know. She didn't expect me to shave my head. She was like, you shaved your head. I'm like, listen, you've seen what my dad looks like. I'm going bald eventually, so you better just hop on board right now.
To be fair, Joe didn't do a great job. It was a little patchy.
Yeah, a couple people grabbed the clippers and hopped on. But Joe, I think was the one person who didn't, because somebody had the clippers, and Joe was let me get in there. And I was like, Joe, take step 10 feet back, man. There's no way. I love you, buddy, but you are not going anywhere near this area. And then, it was a complete mess. So I texted my buddy who was living on campus, and he knows how to cut hair very well. And I was like, I need you to just fix me up because I can't go out in public looking like this. So I kind of had to shut
Well, I formally apologized.
No, I loved it. I'm glad that it happened. I really needed a haircut.
But it got way more of a response. I thought it would only get 5 retweets or something. Blew it out of the water. And then our cooking show. I was part of a microwave cooking show for a little bit, which arguably might have been some of the best programming at WNYF.
Not arguably.
But Canada was there a lot. And I think you made an appearance as a stand-in for me one time.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. I wanted to talk to you about Cooking Wave so bad. We got to tell Matthew. I hope you don't mind if I just, spit off what it is real quick. Matthew, Cooking Wave 101 was the show that Patrick co-hosted, and it was about how to make, I guess, semi-gourmet meals only using a microwave. And it was hosted by this girl who I won't say her name, just in case she doesn't want us to. And she was... the show went off the rails. Every episode went crazy off the rails. And
it got progressively worse as the episodes went on.
Define off the rails. Define off the rails.
I mean,
what do you mean? Because you can go off the rails in a lot of different ways.
People were walking onto the set, myself included. One time, Patrick, during the show, would walk on, and food was getting thrown around. There was a phone that was part of the set for whatever reason, and so Patrick would pretend to pick it up, and then I would call in. I think as your doctor, right?
Yeah, you pretended to be my doctor.
Yeah, you pretend to be Patrick's doctor, and I don't even remember some of the crazy stuff that we would go back and forth saying. But this one time, Patrick was wearing this big puffy vest, and he was like, I have to you found some excuse to kind of walk away, or you had to fix your mic or something maybe. And while that was going on, I took your hat and your glasses and your vest, and I went out there as you and pretended that nothing happened, like I was you. And I honestly think that impression was not half bad. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, it was great. There was a resemblance for sure.
I mean,
and it was just crazy because my co-host started off with the series taking it very seriously, doing cooking, and I was just kind of there for comic relief, and eventually it just got so crazy. I think I cracked open a clam. I snuck a sledgehammer onto the set and used a sledgehammer to crack open a clam or something.
Yeah, the sledgehammer was some would say the third star of Cooking Wave 101.
Certainly.
There was but there's a little tragedy in Cooking Wave, and that is the series finale, which you guys were on for 2 seasons, right? The series finale was live streamed on YouTube, but for whatever reason, the show didn't archive, and at that time, that was the only way we recorded shows. We didn't do a backup recording. So you could have watched it live, and then it was gone forever. And this series finale...
It was the most chaotic episode.
I shit you not. I cannot stress this enough. It was one of the best moments in live television ever, across the board. Anything. It was so
100%.
Crazy. There was this one point, this fella came on, Brendan Lynch, hilarious guy, does Fredtown, which you can see all those episodes on YouTube. They're really good. He went on as Melissa, and I was typing shit into the teleprompters for him to say, and I knew that he would not read it before he started to say it. So I made him say things about how O.J. Simpson was innocent, and about how oh my God, I made him say stuff about how Helen Keller hated Asian people, which is a fact. That's well documented. You can look that up. People...
Yeah, okay.
Super racist. Stay woke. I made him talk about how he... there was something about Tom Hanks, how he said that Tom Hanks was overrated. And then he was like, J.K. Woodbang. So, goddamn. That was so much fun, that show. Gosh. And you made the show, Patrick. That was, man.
It was a time, for sure. And we always ended up with food at the end. I made a craft one time. I tried to make a mug out of popsicle sticks.
That.
Did not go well. I wouldn't recommend.
Quality programming. You made a...
You can actually check out my Etsy shop.
Oh, man.
Quick plug. If you would have just filled the popsicle stick mug with Flexi Seal, or Flex Seal, whatever that stuff is called, it probably would work. If you could make a screen door in a boat.
Fill your mugs.
Is that the
it.
stuff they use where they show it in the infomercial, like fixing a canoe with like a gaping hole in it, and then it just like floats?
Yeah. Yeah, that's Flex Seal.
You could probably get a brand deal
Actually,
with
you
them.
know what, Andrew? We I don't know if we still sell it at Guys, but we have like 2 or 3 giant old cardboard displays, Flex Seal displays, just sitting in the back of one of our rooms. And I've been thinking for a couple weeks now, like, I want to take one of these just to have because it's hysterical. And now I think I'm going to take one and set it up back here and see if we can get them to, sign us. We'll do a Flex Seal ad once a podcast.
That's a great idea. We should have that regardless.
I have so we got way into it with the cooking stuff, and that's fine because it was hysterical. I wasn't going to intervene, but I had a lot of questions about the whole head shaving thing still.
Oh, no.
If you guys don't mind me just kicking back real quick.
Go on.
Question 1. I don't even know where to start. 1, is there video of it? Is that archived?
Yes.
Can we watch that?
There is video.
All right. We have to get that out for the Two and the Cooler fans to see because that's funny.
Okay.
2, as your brother, how did I go an extended period of time not knowing that you had shaved your head? Like, in what situation would I have not seen you? It takes a while for your hair to grow back.
It was in February. It was on Valentine's Day. Shit, man, I don't know.
So I guess the next time I would have seen you was April?
I guess so.
I don't really care about you.
That's a hot take.
Wait, I had 3. I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget them. So okay. So let me check it off. Question 1, question 2. No, okay. Question 3. Did you have the beard? So were you completely bald, full beard still?
They didn't shave it down like a ton. It was pretty down, but I wasn't like complete skinhead.
There was some stubble.
There was some top of the head stubble.
You were like a 1.
Yeah, maybe like a 1.
Okay.
And I did have the beard, yes. And also, I'm gonna go on the record right now. 1, I honestly can't wait to be start to actually go bald, so I can just shave my head and be done with hair. And when that happens, I'm keeping the beard. The beard's not going away. I just want to go on record right now.
Look.
Oh, no.
This brings me to a point. This is kind of question 4 and 5 and another opinion question / something about myself. Okay, so you'll see. There was a lot of my going on in my brain when you were talking about that cooking show because that was funny, but I was also like, I need to remember these questions about the hair, so I tried to write them down, and it's kind of all over the place. I want to make fun of you publicly for the fact that you were afraid of your girlfriend of what, like 5 or 6 years now, getting upset with you because you cut your hair.
Yeah, you know what?
It doesn't matter.
You know what? That's completely fair. I'm not happy about it either.
Yeah, you deserve to be made fun of that. You and your cooler with wheels, and your minivan. And so that was my point. Is like me. I cut my own hair the other day.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, I'll take the cans off for you.
I don't want to get a better view of it. Jesus Christ! Good God, Matthew! What have you done?
Yeah, how about that? And I even got some beard action going. I don't know if you noticed that. So I went side of the head, straight saved, cut nothing else, started to grow a beard.
I
What's
guess
up?
I forgot to tell Patrick that this episode of the podcast would be taking place in a trailer park. Jesus Christ! You got your do you have your feet dangling in a kiddie pool right now, in a half-filled plastic kiddie pool? How many empty Keystone?
Well, it's actually just it's the bed of a truck. It's not.
Oh, okay, good.
Empty cans of Keystone. Actually, embarrassingly, more than 0 empty cans of Keystone in this basement right now.
God, that doesn't surprise me a bit.
But they weren't for me. They're from Christopher. Christopher was drinking it. I'm on a seltzer-only diet, Andrew.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, like White Claws and such.
1 carb, 1 gram of sugar. Labatt Blue Light seltzers. Deliciously refreshing and enjoyable. They come in 4 flavors. That's an ad read right there, too. Labatt
Got a brand
Blue Light
ambassador.
seltzer. I'm on pace to become brand ambassador. I've got the guy at our local 7-Eleven convinced that everybody in the world loves them. So he's been ordering them weekly to make sure that they're there so that when I get out of work on my days off and I stop by to buy a nice icy cold pack of delicious, refreshing Labatt Blue Light seltzer. I'm reading this right off the paper, but yeah. No, it is it's good. Try it. And that's my whole thing. We have a relative, Uncle Sean, who told me that he switched from beer to seltzers and just lost a bunch of weight just making the only switch. And not that I was rapidly gaining weight, but I don't need to lose weight, but I didn't want to gain weight in general, so I figured might as well make the switch and join the bandwagon. And that's why we're where we are.
I saw White Claw just came out with some new flavors, actually. So
Yeah, and
I feel like every beer brand is trying to come out with their own seltzer now. The market saturated.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was the thing is I never was a seltzer guy. I kind of started to dabble in the Bud Light seltzers because of my uncle, but I was never sold on them really. It was only a few times that I drank them. Because I was always a Blue Light. Blue Light was my go-to beer, and I was loyal to my brand. I'm very loyal to my brand. So when they came out with a seltzer, I was all in on it. Haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I'm not down with like seltzer water. I can't jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
It's just like not for me.
If I'm gonna have anything with bubbles in it, I gotta have a Coke.
Oh, 100%.
Well, see, that's the other thing I did. I stopped drinking pop.
Oh boy. I will say, that's one thing that I might be addicted to is soda. I can't go without it.
Me
I
too.
love it so much.
It's bad.
Well,
I've been drinking it since I was like super young, and I've like tried to stop, and I like actually get headaches. It's like I'm going through withdrawals.
Seriously, oh my god.
It's probably how Andy is too.
Just like itching, like I just need the taste of that syrup and all that. Oh my god. Like when I was going to Fredonia, there was a time where I was drinking it a ton, and then I would stop for like 4 days, and I would be like, I gotta have one. Oh man.
Yeah, even working like I work in a restaurant, and it's just like right there.
Seriously.
There's like cone cups you can just drink it out of. So it's like,
God, I got a cold one.
you're gonna drink that instead of the Blaisdell water.
Well, the problem is that in our house, there's pop 24/7 because both our parents drink pop, and they always have. And what just went on with Craig? Did something just happen with Craig? All right, folks. Random mid-podcast pause. I don't even remember where we left off. Craig, our loyal, faithful, trusty Craig, for the first time in 9 episodes, has actually betrayed us and just randomly decided that he was done for the day. He left the podcast mid-episode. He's back now. He's a little concerned. You can see the look on his face. He knows that he fucked up. But
Craig said, I'm calling the labor department. I've been working really hard.
Yeah. He's Craig. Yep, Craig. I don't want. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. So, but we were talking about the Coke and the pop, not the drug.
Talking about the Coke.
I only sell Coke, the drug, not consume. and I don't drink Coca-Cola Pop at all unless there's Jack Daniels in it and or Evan Williams. Either will work. So, well, Andrew, I know you had a few questions. Don't laugh at me, but I know you had a few questions for Patrick that we had talked about, kind of, and I wanted to get a little bit of the background on your time in Fredonia and get some good stories out of it, and I think we definitely accomplished that. So now I kind of want to hear what you have to say, and we can get into a little bit of stuff like that, because there is so much going on in the world right now. Yeah, we won't dive too deep into it, though. Not a political podcast, just a fun podcast.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. That's a Cheers theme song. Anyways.
Is that what they say? All right.
Yeah, but the reason I wanted to have Pat on is because, I mean, number one, you did this blog about the effect that this COVID pandemic has had on the SUNY system in particular. That's what I'm really interested to talk to you about. So this blog, it's on your YouTube page. People can check it out. You have a good story there. You talk to a couple students who have had issues. One was a foreign exchange student. Is that right? She was in... right.
She goes to Fredonia, but she was studying abroad.
So she was studying abroad while everything started to shut down?
Yeah, so she was there. She's in Granada, Spain. And everything started to shut down. And surprisingly, they didn't... SUNY had started to pull people out of their study abroad programs, but for some reason they didn't do Spain. And oddly enough, Spain ended up turning out to be one of like the most hardest hit areas. But she eventually got sent home and had to finish up online.
Wow. So this was... Okay, so she didn't leave... She left when... the school was like, okay, we're shutting it down, and that means everybody's getting out, not exactly before the country shut down or anything. That's interesting. So
yeah. And it's like, when I was talking to her, it was interesting because like us doing online homework is obviously easier because you're communicating in your native language, but when you're taking an online class with professors from a different country, there's cultural and language barriers that you have to deal with, and it's just like adds a whole other layer of complexity.
That's true. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm most curious about. And Matthew, obviously, since you've experienced it, you can weigh in on this too. But with so many people having to do their final projects or their final papers and things like that, or take their final lectures that are very important to finishing off their degree, having to do that through Zoom. I mean, look, is there an asterisk on what these people have done? I mean, what long-term effect does this have on the people who graduated this year during this pandemic, the graduates specifically?
Yeah. So I don't know. When I was talking to people, it's like people have been comparing it because like obviously there's a huge economic turmoil that comes from all of this. So people have kind of been comparing it to like the class of 2008 when they graduated from the when the real estate market
recession,
bubble burst. But I don't know. I've seen some things online where it's like, will employers take a different look at applicants if they graduated from the year 2020 and the years after that, because it is a different world you're entering into, especially like people looking for jobs. A lot of my friends have had their job offers like rescinded or like pushed back to like August, September, when they were supposed to start right out of school. So, and a lot of these companies are on hiring freezes too, so that adds a whole other layer of difficulty trying to like get into your career field.
That is unbelievable. I didn't know people we're sending job offers. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild.
What do you think
for sure.
the long-term effect is going to be? I mean, you just touched on it economically, but obviously you've looked into this a lot. What's going to be the long-term effect? I mean, not just on the SUNY system, but in school systems as a whole. I mean, even our mom's an elementary school teacher. Obviously, her year this year got short. I mean, what's the deal going to be with schools, college, I guess,
Yeah.
specifically, because not only are you going to class with everybody, but most of the time you're living together on the dorms and stuff. You have any? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, honestly, I think you can look at it hypothetically, but I honestly don't think anyone knows, to be honest. But schools in New York, at least, are, I think, in the last phase, which is phase 4, and I think most of the states in phase 2 right now, or is getting there. But I don't know what schools are going to look like. I know there's a lot of controversy. Governor Cuomo was saying that he wanted to do a lot more online education through distance learning and on laptops and whatever. But I don't think that would ever replace the like traditional in-class setting. But
yeah.
I don't know, just like with the spread of the virus, even with like at school, like you have people living in dorms so closely populated together. I don't know what Fredonia is specifically going to do about that. One of my friends was telling me their school, like they're putting everyone in a single as opposed to having a roommate, which I guess that would work for smaller schools, but there's a lot of people at Fredonia, like they don't have room to accommodate everyone to have a single. And especially in class, like you can't keep like 6 feet apart in those tiny
Yeah, I'll
classrooms.
say.
So
Wow, that's a man.
yeah. Especially, yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be interesting. And I asked in my blog series students, like, do you feel like your education has been cheapened through having to do things online? Like, have you lost something from that experience? And a lot of them did say yes. And I don't know if it was just so chaotic because no one's ever had to do this, but I think that it definitely, doing things strictly online takes away a lot of the, beneficial parts of education.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you have to have a certain level of connection between student and educator. There has to be some sort of, something going on there.
100%.
It's obviously made this a lot more difficult. But man, I just wanted to get your ideas on that. But you know what? You mentioned Governor Cuomo, and I'm kind of interested about that. I watch his press conferences every day. I know that in some stations across the state, some local television stations have stopped taking his daily briefings at this point. The station that I work at still takes it, so I watch it every day. And if you go a couple weeks back, his press conferences were getting a ton of national attention. At one point, I heard some national reporters referring to it as like must-see TV and stuff like that. As far as I know, throughout his term, Cuomo's been a pretty divisive character, political figure. Do you have any inkling?
For
What
sure.
do you think this perception is going to change of him at all?
I don't know. I will say, when I first came home, once the pandemic really started going and they sent all of us away from school, I was watching on my phone every night those press briefings. And I saw online on Twitter, a lot of people were saying they don't even live in New York and they're watching these press briefings because their, I don't know, governors weren't giving the same candidness or, might have had a lack of direction. But he kind of became the people's governor, which is such a departure. Even, he's such a polarizing figure as it is. But for a while there, like when we were really in the thick of things, when cases were sky high and there was worry about, hospitals being overcrowded and capacity and things like that, it seems like he was able to, cross parties, and everyone, for the most part, seemed to really have a good reception of that. But, I mean, going forward, I don't know. I mean, he's good at responding to a crisis, but in terms of policy, I think there's going to always be a divide there.
That's a great point. I don't think I could have said that better myself. I think that makes a lot of sense. You got any inkling on that, Matthew?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I will say is back to just the whole schools thing. I think that we'll know more how much normalcy will be returned as we begin to open. If we begin to open and we don't see that spike in cases that they anticipate, then I think it'll be overlooked as, I mean, you can never say that we overreacted in how we handled it, because I think that the way we handled it is what was able to, flatten the curve, all that stuff that they talk about. But say stuff opens back up and virus takes its course, people are going to get it, but it doesn't get out of hand to the point where they're still able to have the amount of hospital beds that they need, and then one day they have a vaccine. I think that, you might see more caution taken in the future earlier on when viruses or diseases like this come out, but I'm not sure that there's any benefit to ever changing things like the education system, because you look at kids that are in crucial age groups right now and how their brains need to develop and the way that they need to be educated, and those kids will never be able to make that up based on the way that our school system is, right? Especially in cities and stuff like that where there's not enough individual attention per each student, and they're doing the best they can, but they don't have the funding to be hiring teachers, and these kids will lose academic skills that they'll never be able to regain. And I think that you can't change a system unless you have it figured out on how you're going to make sure that those kids don't get left behind, because it's not the kids that are already smart that are going to have problems, right? It's the kids that needed individual attention in the current system that aren't getting it right now at all. And that's the other thing is, there's a lot of parents that are putting in a lot of work to make sure that their kids are able to stay up on their education. And there's a lot of people on the other side of that, unfortunately, for children and kids, that their parents could probably give two shits about the fact that they have no clue how to do this math packet that their principal mailed them home, right? Mm-hmm. So and it goes the same thing it's kind of the same wave in college, but on different perspective. I don't think that people will ever look at, I hope that people don't look at graduates of the class of 2020 as not fulfilling the same degree as somebody who does it a year before, a year after, because you're in a home stretch at that point, right? March 14th or March 13th was our last day of school. So we really only had 2 months left, and in that 2 months, half of it is probably preparing for finals, right? So maybe a month of curriculum and other stuff that you could have missed out on. I get internships and stuff like that. I had an internship that I was never quite able to finish, but I think it more affects the people like Patrick was talking about, that now they just lost their job that they were supposed to have, or the people that couldn't take, like lawyers and stuff like that couldn't take exams that they needed to take to finish off their qualifications, and now they have all this student debt. And even though the governor's saying, well, you don't have to pay that back right now, you're eventually going to have to pay it back, and you'll never recover that amount of lost money that you could have had when you could have already been working a full-time job on your $40,000 a year starting salary, right? Those are the benefits that I'm worried about, and that's why I don't think that you'll ever be able to change the way that the system works now unless you really sink some time into it and have somebody, I'm not saying Elon Musk is our savior, but have somebody with a brain like that, right? Who can see something, and he can't always even put it together, but almost like a visionary of sorts. Not Elon. I'm not calling Elon Musk an academic visionary, but somebody, he's a smart. He was able,
Well, you gotta.
I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work, but
3 to 4.
Yeah, I just went on a wicked rant there, and I don't even know where I was going. But that's just I don't think that you'll ever be able to truly change the school system without it having huge effects on. Even so there's in foreign countries, like in places like Germany and stuff like that, people are already back to school, and one of the things that they've been doing is having like an alternative school week. So they're not every student's going a full 4 days, but you're having half the classroom come in or 5 days, but half the classroom's coming in for 4 out of 5 days, and different people are off on different days, right? So then you go from having 25 kids in a classroom to 17 kids in the classroom per day, whatever, and you can spread them out, and you don't have to. I've seen different stuff like that, and like I said, we won't know, and Patrick said it too. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It depends on what happens in the upcoming months when everything's open, right? And not just open in stage 3 when you have 25% capacity or whatever, but when eventually things get back to as normal as they're ever going to get. That's when you'll really be able to tell, okay, well, like, nobody even knew how it was going to shake out to this point, right? Mm-hmm. People thought that, it had the potential, but people thought that even with that, it was still going to get way worse. And
and even looking at education too, it's like, I think it's far more important it's important to be in class in college in person, I personally think, but in your formative years, elementary school, middle school, high school, those are not even just academics. You're building social characteristics, you're making connections, and you also got to think too, like, kids with special needs that are catered to specifically in public schools with professionals that are trained for that, they're not going to have that same kind of support at home with their parents necessarily. So that's definitely something that schools, and it's like, I think there'll be some sort of a shift, obviously, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but beyond that, I don't know how it's all going to pan out. I think once a vaccine is developed and is actually able to be used, that'll be a big thing. And I don't know. I just think being in person is important.
Yeah. And for this specific scenario, right, the COVID-19 could be different if something like this ever happens again down the line. But that age demographic, those age groups, even all the way from kindergarten until you're a senior in high school, without specific underlying previous health issues, that age group was one of the lowest risk age groups to contract and become ill. And I think that there is a downside to that, because if it were to get in the school systems, even if they weren't getting sick, if they became those carrier types and they started infecting their parents and stuff like that, there's definitely things that you'd have to think about. And that's why they just closed everything pretty much, because you don't want to have to look back and be responsible. You'd rather be proactive for it. But that's why there's no right answer as of right now what's going to happen.
It's going to take a long time, especially for those kids that you talked about, Matthew, that they struggle enough in school without having to deal with all this stuff and trying to figure out how to coordinate with their teacher over technology and all that. I think it's going to take a lot of time to try and get everybody caught up, the whole world caught up on where they need to be. And I hope that, I guess, we can find the patience to, be able to do that. I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I want to.
Yeah. And even with. Yeah.
Well, I just want to broaden out and get your perspective on this, Patrick. When you have an event like this, people are, watching the news a lot, especially people who, a lot of people our age, people younger certainly, they don't watch network news regularly, I would say. Now, of course, they're bumping that way up. Something like this, I guess in a broad sense, but specifically in the time we're living in now, do you think that as a part of the media, how do you think the perception of the media is changing over the course of this?
Yeah, everyone is cooped up at home, and if they have cable, and even you could get stations over the air as well, so people are watching a lot more TV. Even like my parents, like CNN is always on upstairs, and it gets like really repetitious at times. But I know in recent years, there's been a trend towards mistrust in the media, which I'm not going to say isn't unfounded. Some of it certainly is founded, but there's a lot of journalists, especially across the country. A lot of great local news is being produced and reported. So I'd say you have to pay attention to what's happening nationally, but looking at your local news stations, I think, is really important because these are trained journalists. And I don't know, I just worry sometimes because people are like, oh, I get my news on Snapchat or Twitter or, things like that, which is fine. And like, that's great that there's more citizen journalism. But a lot of times, that isn't fact checked and it doesn't go through the, traditional procedures to make sure it's accurate and the story's actually there. So I think that kind of does concern me. But I think when big events like this end up happening, people ultimately turn to, brand name sources, the networks, your local news, even if it's not necessarily on TV, everything's cross platform. So whether it's on your phone or your app or whatever. So I don't know. I think there's always going to be mistrust, but I think it's important to look for, factual information. And I don't know, when there's a big event, people usually turn to, traditional fact-checked news, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Oh,
Well,
sorry.
the
Go ahead.
only thing that I'm worried about is that, I think that you are so correct on the two things that I really, really agree with you on. I mean, I agree with the whole thing, but the two main points were you have to watch your local news to get information that's actually going to pertain to you. I think that's super important. And obviously, like you said, those journalists, they live in your town. They live in your area. That's the area that they care about. Yeah. And I think that, what the heck was the other thing that you said that I really, really liked? That there are so many great journalists out there that are like yourself, that are focused on the facts and, giving people the information they need in the best way possible. What I'm worried about is that, these journalists, they're not the ones that own stations of any size. Even local stations are a lot of times owned by Next Star is the one that I work at. You have Sinclair, which is a one that a lot of people know, Tegna or whatever. And then, of course, you have the cable networks, which are massive conglomerates in and of themselves. And people, that run these things, a lot of times they're not journalists. A lot of times they've never been journalists. And that's what I'm worried about, is that when an event like this happens and people are watching the news, obviously you're going to get higher ratings, right? And that's what the people at the top, that's the only thing that they care about, right? Most of the time. Mm-hmm. They don't always care about the actual information that's getting out to an extent. So I'm just worried that, especially with, like I said, I feel like with some millennials, not exactly, but I think with a lot of Gen Zers, broadcast network television is non-existent to them. Like, they don't use it at all. And these companies have been around for so long that once, the generations that do watch them start to sort of go away and these new people come up with, I think that they're going to be afraid of losing viewership, and they might try to cling on to whatever they can to get their ratings to at least plateau, if not grow. That's what I'm worried about, is, that's what I'm worried is going to happen.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And a lot of companies with news directors and places I've interned, so much of their focus isn't, putting on the 6 p.m. newscast anymore. It's, when you're out reporting, you got to get it on social first, then you got to get it on the website, and then it goes to the newscast. The newscast usually comes last. So I think a lot of them are trying to make that pivot to, more digital media sources, but ultimately the advertising dollars that keep these places running are coming from the newscast. So I don't know what the future holds. It's a little scary for sure. But
the thing is,
and
sorry,
go
ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna say, people that go to school for communications obviously were taught about, who owns these networks and who owns, I could tell you who owns the local stations in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, just off the top of my head. But people turn on their TV or go on their website and just expect there to be factual information there, which there is, but some of these stations, you have to run content that is coming from corporate leadership that, aren't journalists, they're shareholders. So maybe they see that, the COVID-19 crisis gins up a lot of traffic on their website. They're going to want to put more of a, spin on that. So that's definitely a concern. And you got to just, when you're reading these things online, you just got to keep an eye out for, is this leaning more towards opinion or are these like actual facts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People are going to have to start doing that more and more. I mean, they already are, obviously, but I think it's so, you said it yourself, it's kind of scary, and I think it is a little bit, but it's so different because things on a technology base, the rate of change is so much faster than it's ever been before. So, you had newspapers, then you had radio, then you had the big, CBS, NBC, ABC. Mm-hmm. You had the networks. And those were around for so long. And even with the, cable coming into the sphere, these were still the go-to networks, and they were like that for so long. But now things are changing so quickly that we don't know what it's going to be, next 5 years, next 10 years. The whole landscape is changing like never before, because I feel like up until now, with all these changes, they've been able to adapt. And like you said, they're putting a lot more, they're making social media and stuff more of a priority. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that'll continue. But man, I think that we are going to see potentially the collapse of some of these things in our lifetime. Yeah. And it is going to be frightening because of how fast it happens, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and everything is so, I feel like, too, sometimes people just want to, not take in any news or information at all because everything is so fragmented now. There's still newspaper, TV, digital, radio, Twitter, everything, that it's just so much information you're being bombarded with all at once that you just kind of want to shut off. But I feel like you just got to find a few good sources that you trust and, that might have differing, outlooks on certain topics, which is important to see all sides of it, but just to find a few good pieces of places with information that you can go to. And that, like you said, I don't know what it's going to look like because demographics in TV, the younger people aren't watching it. So I don't know. There's stations all over the country that employ hundreds of thousands of people. So I'm not sure what that's going to end up looking like.
Very interesting.
I like watching, because I saw this, that you did some time there, Patrick. I like watching just the Spectrum News now before I go to bed at night, because I feel like they just kind of focus on exactly what's going on in the area, and it's only like a 1 hour segment, and then it just replays itself, I feel like. I don't really know how it works, and so it's all kind of condensed. It just kind of spits at you exactly what's going on, and it doesn't have time for them to try to mash in their different biases or opinions. It kind of just spits the news in your face, and then it's over, and then I can go to sleep. And I kind of enjoy that. And I like that you guys both kind of got into the whole social media aspect of it, because I've always been somebody who was super. I loved social media. I was never big into the political aspect of social media, but I was on social media all the time. I was, I would get. I don't want to say I would get news for there. I wouldn't necessarily get but a lot of sports news and stuff like that. I liked it for that. But I have actually gone completely dark. I am no longer on any social media platform except for Snapchat. But I'm still on Snapchat, but I don't really consider that as much of a. It's too. It was never supposed to be a serious. I get that it's a good way to get information out there, but it was never supposed to be a serious platform.
Yeah.
Like any of them for me, they're supposed to be about enjoying yourself. And I get that you have to talk about things on there that you have to shine light on. But in the past probably 3 months, just between being cooped up inside and just everything that's gone on, I just had to let it go.
And I even have two I love Twitter, but I have 2 Twitter accounts. I have my news Twitter account where I just follow straight news stuff, it's more career focused, and then I have my private Twitter account that I just used for funny stuff that I just like and I retweet, and I think it's funny.
Yeah, that's I've loved Twitter. I think that some of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life are probably from Twitter, and I had 2 Twitter accounts too. I had a 2 in the cooler account, and then I had but my I it's just there's no winning or losing on social media anymore. It's just it's gotten
Yeah, and even for
everybody's
news
just
stuff,
too caught up in.
I use Twitter as like kind of a launching pad. Like I'll see something like I don't know, CNN,
and then you go look it up,
and then you go and look it up further yourself. But a lot of people, I think, just read the headline and don't look further into it.
They read the headline and then they run with that opinion, and that's another thing that you were talking about. I feel like you kind of mentioned both sides of it. There's a media, like some people have that kind of media trust issue where they're not sure what they want to believe, and then I feel like other people only generate they're not like they get opinions given to them that they then absorb that's strictly based off of a 30-second news clip or a 120 character tweet, or you know what I mean. They don't look any further into it. They just see somebody said this and this is 100% got to be what I run with, and I think that's another big problem too, is that there's just not quite enough.
Yeah, and look, I feel like
you said, these people aren't journalists, right? You can't just, so.
Yeah, and look, I feel like nobody gets into journalism to spin mistruths, but I think it gets dicey when things start to get monetized and corporatized and things like that. So.
That's a great point. That's an important point, I think. There's one more thing that I want to get Patrick's opinion on. I know we got some stuff to get to, but just out of curiosity, I mean, these past couple months, has there been any story that you wish had gotten more attention but was kind of overshadowed by the pandemic and quarantine and stuff?
I gotta think. I don't know. I don't know. It is wild because the quarantine and everything else going on right now has been largely over. Yeah. It's 100%.
And I know, even a lot of stories have stemmed from that. So it's going to be tough. But I was just curious about.
Yeah, no, I'll get back to you. I have to think about that.
Okay, no problem. Matthew, what do you think? Is it time?
I think it's time. Patrick, you said you've been listening to the Fast Free episode, so we've got a Who Would Win of the Week for you this week, Patrick. Mm-hmm. Another good battle. Not quite as maybe. I don't know. We'll get to it. But did Andrew tell you this before? We have talked about whether we should tell our guests before we start the podcast or not.
I did
he tell you what it is?
Knowledge, yes. And I've been thinking about it.
Okay, good. Because I think. So the Who Would Win of the Week this week for those who are listening is the Trix Rabbit versus the Cocoa Puffs bird. I already know who would win this fight.
I'm dying to know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't want to. Should you want me to start out and I'll go first here and then okay. So, the Cocoa Puffs bird, he is. No, that's I'm not. I'm gonna talk about both people and then I'll say who's gonna win. Okay. The Cocoa Puffs bird, he is cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And he's an absolute spaz. Mm-hmm. And he can also fly.
Have we ever seen him fly?
Kind of fucking stupid.
He's a bird, but have we ever actually seen him fly?
I feel like he just jumps. I don't know if he actually
I feel like I've only seen him.
Oh, he spazzes. Okay, fine. He spazzes. He's cuckoo. He spazzes. Not sure. He doesn't totally fly. He just leaps.
But keep going. I'm listening.
Okay. But he's dumb, correct? If you were to entice him with a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, he would be absolutely screwed.
That's true.
Whereas the Trix Rabbit... Alright, so here, the Trix Rabbit, large rabbit, he also can get a little spazzy. But here's my thing about the Trix Rabbit, is the Trix Rabbit has been dedicating his entire life into manipulating and disguising and undermining people to not know that he's a rabbit, because tricks are only for kids and rabbits can't eat tricks, and all he wants to do is eat tricks. So I think in this fight, I take the Trix Rabbit.
It's a hot take.
Because I think that he could manipulate the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs bird. He's smarter than him.
This is a battle of wits, is what you're saying?
No, it's the brains versus the brawn. The cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs bird is a million miles an hour. He's going apeshit all over the room. Is this a cage match? I imagine it being a cage match. That's how I'm looking at this.
A cage match? I think
it's a cage match.
It should be a more open space. I don't think it should be a cage match. I think you got to give him some room.
Even open space is fine. Because actually, I think cage match.
You have to have a little room for him.
Yeah.
But I still think that the Trix Rabbit's just smart. Think about how many years he's been getting to that bowl of tricks. Eventually, the kids do find out. But he doesn't need eventually. He just needs to get himself in a position where he's one up on the Cocoa Puffs bird. He puts the Cocoa Puffs bird in a bad spot.
Okay.
All the Cocoa Puffs bird can think right now is, I want some fucking Cocoa Puffs.
Right.
Trix Rabbit gets on top of him, starts giving him the ground and pound, fight over. Trix Rabbit. That's who I'm going with. Right. I'll let you guys step in. And I thought about this, though, and I think I'm correct.
First,
but of course
an
I
update.
do.
The Cocoa Puffs bird has never been shown to fly. There's a couple commercials where he's using an airplane, where he's flying an airplane, not
big
flying
into
with
avionics. Big into avionics.
Yes.
So if that's the case, again, he can leap.
We've seen him jump, but it doesn't appear that he can flap.
But
his arms
he gets a little extra jump, though. Yeah, he doesn't flap, but he can. Yeah, I would put his ability to jump on a regular basis at just jump. If you put him and the bird and the rabbit on a line, they're jumping the same distance.
I agree.
Especially when he's cuckoo. When he is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, he can easily jump the same as the rabbit. So the jumping completely factors out.
All right. Interesting. Pat, what do you think?
I think the Trix Rabbit would win, personally.
You're going Trix too?
I'm going Trix because, listen, I feel like the Trix Rabbit has chaotic energy. However, I think the the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs guy, he's like Matt was saying, he's all over the freaking place. Like, he needs to be medicated. And I don't know, I feel like the Trix Rabbit is smart, conniving, and rabbits are pretty quick too if they see a predator. So I don't know. I feel like the Trix Rabbit would be able to lay a trap, do a little manipulation. I feel like he's just with it a little bit more.
Brawn.
And also, the Trix Rabbit is bigger than the bird, isn't it?
Let's say they're about the same size, because they look to be about the same size to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a pretty standard height for most cereal mascots.
The Trix Rabbit is a little more like child size, though, where the bird... we'll call them same size, because they're not real. So we can make them however we want them.
Okay.
Or
I think they are. So... Okay.
Yo, the Trix Rabbit has big feet. I'm looking at her right now. You could just stomp out the bird.
That's okay.
All right, Andrew, let's hear your pitiful take on to why the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs bird should win.
It's not a pitiful take,
and then we can get on with this fucking podcast.
Here's why. I was going to be civil, but here's why you guys are crazy. This is what you're not thinking about. I agree that perhaps the rabbit... The rabbit's definitely trickier, not to make a pun, but he's definitely trickier, and he could definitely set a trap. No trap could hold the Cocoa Puffs bird. And I'll tell you why. The Cocoa Puffs bird is a crack addict, and Cocoa Puffs is the crack. Nothing can stop a crack addict. We have seen crack addicts jump from 3-story buildings and get up like nothing happened. You've seen the breakout of handcuffs and all this thing. The Cocoa Puffs bird is absolutely cuckoo for these Cocoa Puffs. Nothing is going to stop him. And frankly, because there are commercials where, because like I said, the Cocoa Puffs bird, he's an addict and he's struggling. And so he's kind of got two sides. There's a side. He is. There's an internal
I don't mean
conflict.
to laugh at the bird. I'm sorry. It's just
Addiction is very serious, Patrick.
needs to get some help.
And
I know.
serial
I'm
addiction needs more.
sorry,
more
I'm so
eyes on the
flippant about it.
project. The Cocoa Puffs bird is. There's an internal conflict in him. He doesn't want to be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but he is. He can't help it.
It's his
And
only
in
character
that
trait.
way- Well, wow. You're just making the problem worse. His addiction is not his identity, but it is what's going to make him win this fight. Okay?
I don't know.
Because
I feel like they branded it as his identity.
I disagree. I disagree, though, Andrew.
It's like
that
he's hulking out.
no, I'm.
When he goes cuckoo, it's like he's hulking out. And I don't think that
Yeah,
when it comes down to it,
I've seen him bounce around rooms, cuckooed out. I've seen him be cuckooed out, and I'm telling you that in a non-cuckoo form, the rabbit has the same, close to the same ability. When he's cuckooed, I agree that he's crazy spazzy, but the same thing, like we're saying, if we compare this bird to a crack addict, and I don't know, I've never been in the mind of a crack addict, but if you're high on crack, I feel like you could be easily manipulated into doing some stupid shit. And the Trix Rabbit is smart enough to take advantage of the cracked out bird. I guarantee it. Money in the bank.
I think that
It's you're 2-1 here, Andy. You're 2-1.
Once the fists start flying, the cuckoo bird is winning. I think once this thing actually gets going, I mean, maybe if the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs guy hadn't gotten his Cocoa Puffs fix for a minute, and although no, because if the rabbit is standing between him and his Cocoa Puffs, then
Yeah, but that's not the situation. We didn't give him an ultimatum. You have to kill this rabbit to get Cocoa Puffs. That's not the conversation. This is just a fight.
straight up fight.
They're just fighting.
I also want to let you know, from a quick Google search, it appears the Trix Rabbit is friends with Bugs Bunny. So I don't know if Bugs rolls up and like has something to do with this as well, but
Bugs Bunny would beat the wheels off of the Cocoa
That's
Puffs
true.
bird. So if the Trix Rabbit's, it's a
Nobody's
no-brainer.
debating that Bugs Bunny
Andrew?
would beat the shit out of any of these guys.
he'd drop an anvil.
He'd drop an anvil on all of them. That's not what's in question. But I just think there's no stopping the Cocoa
Andrew.
Puffs bird once he gets going. And I think
I respect your opinion, Andrew. But you're 2-1. You're outnumbered. I mean, I don't think anybody else has ever debated on this topic. So as of right now, Patrick and I are the foremost informed people on this subject, and we are telling you that we are correct.
I'm just not sure. You guys make some very good points, but I mean, I honestly don't understand how you're not seeing it from my point of view. Once the bird,
I get it. I get it.
I understand. If you told me, Andrew, if you told me that the match was a bowl of Trix on one side, a bowl of Cocoa Puffs on the other, fight to the death, winner gets their cereal,
right?
That bird probably wins. Because
I get it.
actually, even then, I don't know. Because I don't know even then. Because I'm saying that the mental ability, the Trix Rabbit is sly. He's smart. And that cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs bird has no brain capacity. He's spaced out up there. All he can say is that I am cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like,
Which I
I
see
don't
where
know.
that could be an advantage for the bird, with that being their mindset that they have to get it and will do anything for it.
Right. But in this case, just straight up,
I don't know. I just feel like
still have the rabbit.
the rabbit has. Yeah.
oh boy,
I'm sorry, Canada.
well,
Sure, the rabbit has the mental edge.
You know what? I'll put up a Twitter poll.
We'll have
Yeah.
to do it. We'll have to do
we can
it.
get some Twitter polls out there.
But if you guys are Team Trix Rabbit, I'm Team Cocoa Puffs bird, without a doubt. I think there's no stopping him. Once he gets going, it's over. It's over. The only thing you can do is run away. He's a goddamn tsunami, and he's coming in to take. He's coming to shore, and he's taking everything with him. Nothing is stopping him.
Yeah, and the Trix Rabbit is going to step aside, and somehow there's going to be a painted wall that looks
He's
like
gonna
a tunnel.
dig a hole, cover it up with some leaves.
Yeah,
But
and
the bird
like
would
it's
jump right out. It'd jump right out.
Yo,
won't
I've got to
fly
ask
out.
you, have you seen online that Britney Spears has claimed to be faster than Usain Bolt?
What do you mean?
I believe
She
it.
do you mean
tweeted. She said, "I'm." Somebody tweeted and said,
Oh no, she tweeted a picture. I think I did see this. Was it a picture of her watch and how fast she ran something? Did you see this? Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Or
But then it blew up, and everyone was like, "Britney's saying she's faster than Usain Bolt." And you know what? I don't doubt it. I'd love to see them race.
That would be amazing.
Okay, who do you think
Honorable
wins in a
mention of the
fight?
week, Britney Spears and Usain Bolt. Honorable mention of the week.
No, it's Usain Bolt. I was gonna say Britney Spears versus the Coca from Cocoa Puffs.
That's a
Who
good
wins that
fight.
fight?
That's a good
That's
fight.
a fucking battle. That's a really good
And it's
fight.
Britney. For the
I
exact
think-
same reason
I
that
don't
I
know.
voted for the Cocoa
it's
Puffs
Britney,
bird, it's
bitch.
Britney, bitch.
Yeah, it is Britney, bitch.
I don't know if you've been viewing her Instagram lately, but I highly recommend if you're looking for some entertainment. She is off the rails. She's okay, but her Instagram posts are off the rails.
Has she shaved her head recently?
No, but she did accidentally burn down
Okay.
her home gym.
Yeah. I don't know what's
Now, that's
going
funny.
on with Britney Spears. I hope
That's
she's
okay, though.
Did you see her son, this was a couple of weeks ago, but her youngest son, went on Instagram Live and was talking about how much he, hates his grandma and stuff. Did you see any of this?
No,
think it
I
was
wouldn't
on-
doubt it, though.
Oh, boy. And people were
Because-
asking him about Britney's beau. Are they engaged, or is it just as...
I don't know. That's a beautiful man, though. I don't know how she... Well, I guess I know how she swung that, but...
Yeah.
But people have been trying to free Britney for years because her dad controls all of her finances.
Man, that's enough to burn... that's enough to get anybody to burn down their home gym.
That's what I'm saying. A few candles, one thing leads to another.
Well...
You should try and get her for the podcast. I bet you could get her.
I bet, you know what? I bet we could, actually.
We could probably land Britney. I'd have to
We
talk
could
to some
land
people.
100%.
That'd
Yeah.
be phenomenal. I'd love to talk to her. I think that'd be
She's
really
always on
cool.
Instagram. Shoot her a DM.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. I've DM'd a lot of celebrities in my day. They don't answer very
Not a lot
Yeah,
of replies.
But
Comment.
No.
Everybody, we'll just have
I gotta
everybody
reply.
listening
The only
go and comment
I think
on
the-
Britney Spears' Instagram page to be on Two in the Cooler. That's how you
say,
have to
"Come on
reach
Two in
the
the Cooler."
celebrities. You have to
Yeah.
comment on them. You can't DM them because they'll I don't know.
She recently upgraded from an iPhone 5C, so she should have a quicker connection.
Oh my god.
how the fuck is Britney Spears rocking an iPhone 5C? The one with the colorful background.
I don't know.
Jesus
man.
Christ.
I don't know. Well, what do you say? I think that's a good spot.
All right. Well, we've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes or so, right? So I
Might
think
as well
that
jump out.
I think that this is a good spot to call it. We'll let people continue their own little search into Britney Spears'
Yeah,
current
pray for Britney,
situation
guys.
and
Help
what
her
she's
out.
up
Stay
to.
safe,
And,
Sarah's. Free Britney.
yeah.
Hashtag free Brit.
So I just want to thank you, Patrick, for coming on. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, we're
follow
really
you?
glad to have you. Yeah.
Okay. All my professional social media is at Pat Ryan Reports, so
I like that.
everything's under that.
And you got anything coming up?
Okay.
Anything you want to plug?
Okay.
Not really. I'm just looking for jobs, baby. So if you're a news director watching this, visit
fuck's sake.
PatRyanReports.com.
Yeah.
He's the goddamn best in the business.
So you heard that. We do have a lot of news
I'm
directors.
sure
that,
there are a lot of
listen
listeners.
to the
of them.
podcast.
Or if they're looking to make a microwave
well, again,
cooking show, I'm available.
yeah.
So.
Oh my god. Bring hashtag
Yeah,
bring back
that
Cooking
too.
Link. It's already trending.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So thanks again for coming on. Go follow Pat Ryan. Check all his stuff out. Follow Two in the Cooler on Twitter. Check us out on YouTube. If you haven't watched Scoob yet, rent
Trying to
that
get some eyes on the
$20. We want
project.
to get
Come on,
more
guys.
eyes on the
Let's
project.
get this thing into gear. Let's get some
And,
more eyes on the project, huh?
And yeah, Andrew, any last remarks?
Thank you, Pat. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the show, tell your friends about it. That helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is big for us. So
yeah.
thanks. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
You could rate the show on iTunes, preferably 5 stars, because right now we have a 5-star rating. I think only one
No, we've
person
got
has
a
rated
couple.
it, and I don't know who it is, but they left a little.
Yeah.
Well, we're up to a few now. Okay, good.
We're a highly rated.
Yeah,
show.
so pretty soon Joe Rogan will be
God.
kissing our ass.
All right, Pat. Thanks again. Thanks for listening, guys. Let's
Thank
get
you
out of here.
guys.
Yep. Thanks a bunch. Have a good one.